That's one small step for man.
AI rebels, please.
Giant leap for mankind.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the AI Rebels podcast. As always, I am your co-host, Spencer, and I am here with my other host, Jacob.
Yeah, and we're very excited to have Cordell Robinson here on with us. Cordell is, he does so much in the AI space. Cordell, he's currently the CEO of Brownstone Consulting. It's a firm specializing in cybersecurity, AI governance. He's also developing AI tools. You have such an incredible background, Cordell, so thank you for coming on. We're very excited to talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so Cordell, maybe I know you have a history with technology, with the military, with all these different entities. Can you kind of give us a quick overview of your path to where you are now?
Sure. So I started undergrad, electrical engineering, computer science. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I joined the U.S. military, and then United States Navy, actually. And also I wanted to serve my country. So that was really cool. I was an intelligence analyst. So I was dabbling in technology. Doing that is very different, of course, in intelligence, but it's still technology. So I did that for almost 5 years. When I got out, I moved to Washington, D.C. So while I was in the Navy, I was in Diego Garcia and then Rota, Spain, which was amazing duty stations. Wow. Then came to Washington, D.C., and I became a software engineer. And while I was a software engineer, I went to law school because I was like, well, I want to see where that takes me.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. When I graduated, I was like, well, I don't want to become an attorney because I thought it would be kind of like boring because it's mostly paperwork. It's not what you see on TV. So I was like, well, let me marry law with technology. How is that going to work? And so I started doing some research on what was called information security at the time. This was back in the early 2000s. And then I looked up several different things and figured out information security would fit. And then as the information security evolved into cybersecurity, privacy came into place, which a lot of more attorneys got into the space, but I was one of the very early ones in the space, which was really fun. So I was able to have still been able to use my legal background and technical background and military background in the cybersecurity space, which is always fun. So I worked for several companies, ended up working at Hewlett Packard for a few years, as well as a senior manager. I left there, started my own firm, and decided to do things the way I wanted to do instead of, going about, the corporate way, because it was just like there's all these guardrails, and I just wanted to spread my wings and do things in an unorthodox way, in a way, but like in a cool way where I could really tailor fit my acumen to different organizations. So that's been fun. So I've been doing this for about 25 years now, and I've had my company for a little bit over 15 years.
Oh, awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. So, okay, so Brown Consulting. Has it been Brown Consulting the entire time?
Yeah, Brownstone Consulting.
Brownstone Consulting. And you started off, what was it like leaving a safe job at Hewlett Packard to starting a company? Was that scary, or were you all for it?
It was the first 3 months was very scary because I had to figure out my own benefits. I had to figure out my own 401k. I had to figure out structure because, in corporate, it's lots of structure. I had to build the company. I had to, there's all of these different things that you have to do to start your company, NAICS codes and cage codes and DUNS number and, SBA, Small Business Administration registration. And then I also applied to be a service disabled veteran. So there's a lot of things I had to do to just get started. And then once I got started, because I built relationships over time outside of Hewlett Packard, because I never talked to any relationships that they had, but because I was in the space, I built so many relationships going to different conferences. I was able to secure a contract within about 2.5 months. So it wasn't bad. And so I finally got paid after 9 months of being in business, got my first paycheck. So, and it was pretty large. So I was like on the roll, and it was no looking back then.
So fast forwarding a little bit, to more recent years, what would you say has been kind of the biggest difference in the nature of your work, uh, both day to day and broader, grander scheme of things as well, with the advent of powerful language models?
So my day to day, actually, especially recently, has been actually, I want to say great because using the LLMs and also Agentic AI has really
Mhm.
helped with efficiency with
Right.
my business. So I'm able to get things done faster, more efficiently, with more accuracy as well, which is great. But I don't do it as fast as a lot of others do it. That's because I'm in cybersecurity. And so I don't just
Yeah.
download any AI tool, and I just don't, yeah, I
Yeah.
just don't put any type of information in there because, yeah, it's very dangerous.
Yeah. Have you encountered any? Because one thing one concern that people have raised with AI is possibility of data exfiltration through clever prompt engineering, things like that. Have you encountered any? And perhaps this isn't an evaluation you do, but have you encountered any customers who have had that problem, have had an AI system deployed that exfiltrated some sort of data?
So I haven't had that happen yet, but I've been talking with different companies that are deploying agentic AI. And so before they deploy it, thank goodness they do talk to me because I warned them, like, don't just deploy this without
Mm,
guardrails. Don't just let it run on your system and have your system open to the internet because then it can
yeah.
snatch your data and just send it out to whomever it wants to. Because even though like AI doesn't really have a mind of its own. It's always learning. And so since it's
Right.
always learning, if you make a mistake and put in the wrong prompt or something like that, then it can do some things that's unexpected. So I tell people to educate themselves more so. So I haven't run into that just yet, but I have talked to lots of business owners, CEOs that have made several other mistakes. And I'm like, delete that. Don't do that. So it's, it's hilarious on
Yeah.
what people use it for. I'm like, you should not do that.
Yeah. Do you have any like specific examples that come to mind that you can share?
Yes, a few. Yes. So one person said that they use AI as their therapist. And I said, well, what do you tell it? And they're like, oh, well, everything. I'm like, do you know that's not a human? So all of your information is now on the internet, basically. And so like your deepest, darkest secrets can get out there and it could cause like a lot of problems. And this person has a very important position. So I'm like, don't do that.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
another, it was crazy. I'm like, they're like, oh, well, I just, it's like my friend. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not your
Say, I
friend.
think I think it
That's
was
scary.
probably six
Yes.
months ago where it was either Anthropic or OpenAI. Turned out that a bunch of the private chats that were supposed to be private turned out to be publicly indexed. To
Yes.
your point, like you never know when data that you put on the internet might be, um, yeah, exfiltrated. um,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then another person, they uploaded all of their taxes, personal and business taxes to AI.
Oh,
And I
goodness.
said, why did you do that? I said, someone can steal your entire life, your whole identity and become you. I mean, that's everything. So
Yeah.
I thought that was like, why would like, it didn't make any sense. I'm like, go to a CPA.
just just get some help.
Let them do it. Let them do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them
I
put all
mean,
your information into an
with that,
LLM.
yeah, seriously. So did you see on that note that recently, I mean, ChatGPT, OpenAI is trying to integrate with Intuit for
Yes.
tax purposes?
Hmm.
Do you think that's realistic? Do you think people will like, is there a future with that sensitive of information, like tax information, things like that for AI? Or do you think we're a ways out before we should use
Uh,
it for that?
I, I think we're a ways out before it will be secure.
Hmm.
I think that they will still put it out because they want to make money. And I think people are going to use it. And I think that there's going to be a lot of lessons learned before they put guardrails around it, because people like to react to things instead of be proactive because they don't think about it. Like, oh, this is great. This is fast. Okay. That doesn't mean that it's safe. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's the dichotomy between, it's going to be fast and safe and it's available, and not thinking all of your information is going to be on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you say guardrails, like, do you have anything in mind of what that might look like?
Yes. So the guardrails would be looking at, so there's control sets like ISO 42001, NIST AI risk management framework. They have like small control sets that says this is how you should govern your AI tools. So it has, it tells you, okay, when you're dealing with language models, do this and don't do that. And then make sure that you configure your AI a specific way so that your information is not going out to the internet. Most people don't even know that these things exist, so they just use it, and then things happen, like bad actors come in and steal the data. And the problem is that they sit on and just collect data. They could collect your data for years and you don't know about it until
Gosh, that's crazy.
something happens.
Until they have a reason to use it.
Exactly. They wait for the perfect
terrifying.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that, quick tangent, I was going to say that I think that's something that people don't fully appreciate about cyber attacks, is a lot of them are just kind of passive information gathering efforts. And then eventually, a hacker one day is like, I'm going to go through this text file, and they happen to see that they collected some personal identifying information. They're like, sweet, I can sell it.
Exactly.
So
Because
it's not a threat that people are well equipped to stay aware of, I guess I'd call it.
right, because there's so many, especially like, not just here in the United States, but so many foreign adversaries are sitting throughout our networks, just collecting data all the time. Like there was a CNN, not CNN, but 60 Minutes, October 12th, where there was Chinese sitting in a water treatment plant. Well, they found out later the NSA had to alert them that this was happening. And then come to find out later, it was over 200 municipalities across the country. And I'm like, you guys didn't know this, that they were just sitting there. So they could shut off their water. They can do something to poison the water. They were in electric grids, so they could shut off power grids. I'm like,
it's crazy.
It's insane. And they could just do it in like little small pockets where it's just disruptive. And then, we're so dramatic. So then everybody will be so hysterical, like, oh, this town, people got poisoned with the water. And then it's this big thing and no one really knows until like they check their network and see that, a foreign adversary has like screwed them over and been sitting there for years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you not know this?
Wild. That is crazy. Like, have we not thought to check this or have some sort of, I mean, so what would you say, Cordell, for, obviously it's kind of different, an individual versus an entity, like a company, but maybe for an individual, like someone listening to this podcast, if you could give like 2-3 pieces of advice, particularly with AI, now that it's just proliferating so much and it's everywhere, just to be safe. Like how can someone be safe right now when there's so many opportunities to lose your information?
So the first thing I would say is never put your personal information in any AI. So do not put your name is your name, right? But don't put your date of birth. Don't put your social security number. Don't put your address. Don't put like GPS settings to like different places that you're going. Don't put any type of banking information in there. Just don't do it. It's not necessary. And then also use AI as a tool and not as something to do your job for you, because then you're going to create more dangers. Because if it's doing your job you're trying to have it do your job for you, there's going to be so many errors and mistakes. And then now you can cause harm to like your personal data. If you just try to like, oh, well, I'm going to have it balance my checkbook. Why would you do that? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And the LLM is not going to be aware of what liabilities you are subject to. Like there's been so many examples over the last year or so, and I'm shocked how often they keep happening of lawyers who get just absolutely dumped on in court by a judge because, like, judge is like, hey, I looked at your case and it's clearly ChatGPT. None of the precedents it cites are real. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna censor you. Like, and now this dude's
Yes.
in trouble because, yeah, to your point, like he used it to do his, he had it do his job instead of using it as a tool of, hey, here is a case, because he could have easily gone and found case precedents by himself and then fed
Correct.
summaries into ChatGPT to get alternate perspectives, etc. But that's not what he did. He tried to take a shortcut.
Yeah, exactly, which is ridiculous because all attorneys get access to Westlaw, so you just use
Yep.
Westlaw. It's on the internet. You could pull all the case and the precedences and do the research, and it doesn't take that long. Even though chat is faster, but chat is so inaccurate. You have to be very accurate with your prompts. So if you're an attorney, most attorneys are not
Yeah.
technically savvy. They're just not. I've worked with a lot of them, and that's just not what they do. So why are you putting prompts into technology and expecting to get accurate data? That doesn't make sense when you're not a technologist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's even particularly, I mean, like GPT 5.1 is incredible and it's getting much more accurate, but you also still, like, you have to know the information to be able to validate it. I think people forget. They try to use it for things they don't know, right? And so then they're trying to validate and check this information that they don't. I don't understand how people think
And
they
then
can check it if they don't know.
And then they end up inventing a universal theorem that solves all of physics. It's amazing.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly. I would say another piece of advice is, before using these different AI tools, become a very good researcher. Because if you're a good researcher on the internet, then you'll know what information to put into your AI tools to get more accurate information. If you're a bad researcher, then you're going to get bad information.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think it's a point that a lot of people ignore. They just think that, and to language models' credit, they are very good at search. I'm not trying to say that they aren't, but people really underestimate how much value there still is in knowing how to Google yourself and validate, the things that the language model is telling you. A lot of times it doesn't take that much work to validate, because usually they've gotten pretty good where usually most of the errors now they make are pretty easy to spot. And you're like, well, that's, and they're usually pretty good at the small stuff. But yeah, too many people think that it's a substitute for doing that yourself. Sorry, my cat is going crazy. I don't know what he's up to.
No problem.
You're fine. Yeah, and it's also just best practices as well. Like I use ChatGPT all the time, and there's just certain best practices. Like, you just, after it gives you an output, you say, okay, now is this right? Check this. Is this information right? And provide me links to the sources that you pulled this from.
Correct.
And even still, it will often say, just yesterday, I used it to run through a LinkedIn article I posted today, and it gave me a fact. And I was like, that seems strange. And I asked it, and it was like, oh yeah, I can't find this anywhere on the internet. I was like, what? Where did you pull this from? So it's also just like a gut feeling. Like, if you see something, if it tells you something that doesn't seem right, like, it's not the all-knowing God. It doesn't.
Exactly.
The point that I like to make to people is, like, it's a lot like your coworker Kyle. Like, he's really good at your job, but you should always double check everything he says to make sure, because humans are wrong all the time.
Exactly.
So trust but verify.
Exactly. I tell people it's only as smart as you are. So whatever you know or you're asking, that's what you're going to get back. And if you're not going to get, like you said, links, references, then it's not verifiable. And then if you want to really use it properly, go and Google and find the documentation and then put that documentation in there to search it, that actual documentation. Then you're going to get more accurate data because it's actually looking through something that is legitimate.
Yeah, it has that
and
knowledge
I think
base.
that you can use it to learn something new, but the thing that people miss is that you have to know what you don't know to learn from it, right? Like, you got to be asking very specific questions. Like, I do not know how to, just spitting off an example, like, I don't know how to go set up an inference pipeline in Python on cloud. Here are some specific things that I don't know. ChatGPT, help me out. It works really well in very bounded environments. The the broader your query, the more likely you are to get somewhere weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. And you train it too. It's like a child. You train
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I like your point, Cordell, that it's only as smart as you are. Because I think there's all this hype right now where it says, oh, it's like a PhD in your pocket. And I'm like, okay, but if you don't know how to use, like the people who get it to act like a PhD are
Are usually
PhDs. They
I
like,
saw
Correct.
yeah,
like a math professor talking about that. He was like, man, like it helped me, like, it reproved this novel theorem that I proved for my PhD. And it's like, yeah, that seems really likely. I don't
yeah,
think I could get it to do that.
yeah,
Right.
I don't know the first thing about formal proofs.
yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly. Cordell, so I'm curious. So if we go big picture with,
hmm
let's start with Brownstone, and then I really want to hear about these tools that you're developing.
hmm
So Brownstone, what's the, is it like a new customer comes in, what are they typically coming to you for right now?
So right now they're coming to me for a lot of compliance. So there's different compliance frameworks out there. There's of course NIST 853. There's CMMC. There's GDPR. There's ISO, and then there's AI governance. So they come for one of those things. There's requirements like for federal government clients. So companies that work with the federal government are required to be satisfied with certain frameworks. So we basically walk them through. So we do one or two things. We walk them through and prepare them for an audit so that they can get certified to work with to get contracts with the federal government. And these are multi-billion dollar contracts. Or we actually do an audit on them. And so we'll give them an audit and provide an authorization to operate so that
Got it.
they can utilize that to one, get other commercial clients or work with the government and sell like their products. So like if you have some software, we'll do what's called a white gloving of the software, which is a whole process that takes about
Mm-hmm.
6 months to do, according to how complex it is. And then once it's done, they have all of the documentation and everything technically set in place as well, because we do technical tests as well. It's not just a paperwork drill like most people think compliance is. I'm like, it's not all paperwork. There's actually a technical piece to it, and it's like an
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
umbrella. So we just prepare them for that, or we do the audit themselves according to what they need.
got it.
When it comes to AI, we just have an AI governance framework that we work with. We utilize ISO 42001, the NIST AI risk management framework, and then
Mm-hmm.
also NIST 853, which is not AI at all, but there's a mapping to it. So we can dive deeper because the AI frameworks are a little high level. And then the 853 gives us the ability to really dive deeper so that they can understand where they're going with. And then the other thing is we're working with financial institutions, banks on their security, like their incident responsive, like a breach
Oh, okay.
happens. Like recently there was a jackpotting that happened at an ATM where it was like a whole series that occurred. So they had one person go into the ATM and install malware. Then they had
Mm.
another person go in and unlock codes. Then they had the other person go in and take out $175,000 at once, which is crazy.
That's
And this just happened
crazy.
last week. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I always wonder with people like that. I'm like, obviously these people are very smart, very detailed. I'm like, what could you do if you applied that in a
Right.
productive way?
Right.
It's,
They could do so much good with that. And I'm like,
uh,
why are you doing this? Like, it doesn't make sense. So,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, and I'm going to talk with some credit unions here in the next few weeks because, with that, that can occur again. And just because they installed that malware on one ATM machine, it's connected to a network. That means that it can traverse throughout the entire network and they could just travel around the country and just go to ATMs and just start pulling out money.
And I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's there's literally a song on YouTube that teaches you how to do this.
Yes.
I'm not joking. If
Gosh,
either of you are not aware of it, you should go look it up.
I'm
Oh, I will.
Like
yeah.
it walks you through. It literally walks you through this exact process. It's like first you go download a program onto this USB, then you do this. Like it walks you through it step by step.
That's
It's kind of
wild.
hilarious, but like it's a little bit sad hearing that maybe people are taking its advice.
That's
Wow.
It's just
crazy.
it's a whole
Jeez.
new world of information trans, you know, transmission.
for sure. Yeah.
So interesting.
Oh, well, if I'm not here next week, Spencer, I listened to it and I took the advice. And I'm living on some
He's got
island.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, exactly. So Cordell, with AI governance specifically, what would you say is the current state, at least in the United States?
The current state is not good in the United States because there's no AI law yet. There's no legislation yet. So the EU has the AI Act. The United States just has the NIST AI risk management framework. That's not a law. It's just guidance on what you should do. And so, and on top of that, I was at a CEO conference a couple weeks ago, and I just was randomly asking, "Oh, so what are you doing for your AI governance?" Because everyone was talking about, oh, AI this, AI that, like all these crazy tools they use, avatars. And I'm like, well, how do you protect it? Oh, I don't. Really? I was like, that's interesting. I'm like, well, I think you may need to think about protecting it. And so with those conversations, I really was alarmed saying that here in the United States, that these are multi-million, multi-billion dollar companies. So I'm like, okay, we have some work to do here in the United States. So hopefully our Congress gets it together and create some legislation around this, hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully
this
they can
leads
focus
perfectly
on.
actually into a question that I've been dying to ask about AI governance. So without getting too explicitly political on this show, because we don't like to do that, but inevitably politics touches this. The White House is once again trying to push through a amendment or not an amendment, it's an executive order, or what mechanism they're using, but essentially trying to ban states from implementing their own AI controls on a state-by-state basis. We have a friend, Aidan McLaughlin at OpenAI, who has been a previous guest, and he's fond of saying that there's a common misconception with Formula One racing that the brakes are there to slow you down. But in reality, the brakes are there to keep you going as fast as you can around corners, etc. And so he kind of views regulation in that way. I'd be curious to hear from your perspective. Do you think that it needs to be like a nationwide, Congress needs to implement a nationwide law of like, these are the regulations that each company must follow? Or do you think that it should be up to the states on a state by state basis for those populations to decide, how they AI regulate?
So, and I mean, this is a very strong opinion. It should be national. It should not be state by state. The reason being is because the internet crosses all state lines.
Yeah.
Period. AI crosses all state lines. There's no delineation between here in Boston, New York, California, Utah.
Right.
There isn't, right? And so if each state has a different law, like if someone breaks it, how do you prosecute that? Like, how do you go through those measures? So now you're going to spend all of this money in court for what, when you could just have a national law. So, I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, it had, nothing to do with anything political. It's just technology,
Right.
We have the National Institute of Standards and Technology for a reason, and everyone basically follows that, right? And so with AI, it should be the same thing. I know that sometimes some states like California they're rolling out the CCPA, which is like GDPR, but then that CCPA is going to spread throughout the entire United States and it's going to become national. It's just that California has more privacy than any other state in our country. So that's why they started it first. But a lot of other states uses their framework anyways. So it just makes sense putting it on a national level so that there's no confusion between state lines, because it becomes very confusing because some states are Commonwealth and some states there's just so many different treaties and laws in different states, and they might as well be their own countries at some point if they want to separate it all. So I think, a national governance is the way that it should be.
And do you have any, obviously maybe don't have it all built out, but do you have any thoughts on what that would look like nationwide?
A little bit. So actually just this morning I was I was reading through ISO, which is the international standard. I was reading through the NIST, what they have, which is really not much at all. I'm like, oh my God, this is a long way to go. But I was reading through that. I was reading through some other international laws that some different countries are using. I was reading through the EU AI Act, and I was just aggregating and putting together some data to kind of make sense of it. So I think that what it would look like here in the United States is just like NIST 853, where they're going to have a framework and a control set, and then it's going to be like FISMA, which they'll have a law. So it'll be like AI FISMA, whatever they want to call it, which would be the law for securing AI. So I think that's how they'll probably roll it out the same way. And then they'll have to, of course, every so many years, like I believe every like 10 years, they update it. So they, of course, have to update it as technology becomes more advanced. And I think that AI is moving so fast that, you know, they're kind of scared to like throw it out there, but they need to hurry up and like put it out there because like it's moving fast.
Right.
No, that's been my impression as well. Like I'm a big fan of AI, but I'm also concerned by the fact that like no one seems willing to even attempt, because I do strongly believe that technology should be regulated. I lean towards, you know, a lighter regulation when it comes to technology, lighter regulation regime overall. But it's like it's clear that you gotta have some sort of governance and some sort of oversight before it
Right. So, yeah, and I believe in
blows
light
up on itself.
regulation as well. I think it should be more so guidance and recommended guardrails, but in also
Yeah.
reading the EU AI Act, and I've gone over it several times, that regulation makes sense because it's about your privacy. It's about, okay,
Right.
you cannot use AI like CCTV cameras to scan someone to tell if,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, to tell like
They're
their
stealing
race
some
or to
M&Ms.
tell like, yeah, these different things. Like, no, that's like invading people's privacy. So you can't do that. Or you shouldn't do that. Or you shouldn't use it to like detect certain things that are very personal to you. So of course those things should be in place. But other things like, you know, what someone's thinking, no one needs to know what you're thinking. Like that's too much.
Yeah, that gets real spooky real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So overall, it sounds like you kind of like the way the EU has approached it.
Yes.
I think I understand why a government would be nervous, because like you said, it's like there's two sides of it. One, it's moving fast, so we need regulation. But two, it's moving so fast, it's hard to build regulation to keep up. But I think
Yes.
an approach could be taken kind of like the EU, where it's not in the weeds. It's a
Right.
high level framework.
Right.
And I think that's really the best you can do with something like this that's moving so fast and so dynamic.
Right. Yeah, just keep it high level and make sure like the legislation, all the legalities are in place. And then the rest of it, like let the lawyers battle it out in court, you know,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
you know,
We got
add,
a lot of
I don't, yes, and add some AI legal courses in law school.
Yeah.
It's going to be
That
needed.
should be
really
happening
fast.
now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that has been it's just fascinating, especially with professions like I'm in a CPA, like lawyers. Like I think there's gonna be a lot of growing pains for people
Yes.
who are already in the profession to change.
Yeah.
But what hurts is when those people don't want to change the system for those rising up, right? Like
Yes.
they say, "Oh, I didn't have this in law school, so you don't need it either." Or
Right.
like, why should you get to use ChatGPT to help you write a paper when I didn't? It's like, well,
Right.
because it didn't exist, and now we have this capability that we should learn how to use to further the human race.
Exactly.
I get very frustrated when people use that mentality to try to slow down progression, because I love AI and I agree there should be boundaries, but there should also like people need to open up to it.
I think that we're going to. This is slightly tangential, but something I've been thinking about lately. So I'm gonna talk about it for a second. I think that on a similar note, I think that we're going to need to add some new curriculum in terms of computer literacy. Like I think that prompting is going to be a skill that needs to be taught, not necessarily because prompting is all that hard, but because there's a growing body of evidence to suggest that your ability to use an AI tool is not necessarily directly proportional to your expertise in your field, but rather your expertise at giving accurate instructions.
Mhm.
Right.
It's
It's
a
like project
distinct
management.
skill. Yeah, exactly. It's a distinct skill in of itself. And I think that that's where some people get frustrated and don't see the potential with AI is like they aren't good at giving instructions. They aren't good at prompting. And
Mhm.
so then they're like, oh, well, it's all garbage. And it's like, well, no, a lot of it is garbage, but not all of it.
Right.
There's
Well,
a very strong portion here that works.
exactly. Well, I tell people this that are resistant. I said, okay, think about it. When the telephone was invented and it came about and it became, popular and everybody began to use it, those people basically carrying messages back and forth, they had to convert their job. So they became mail carriers or they worked for the telephone company and they had to learn a new skill. Same
Mhm.
thing with writers. Writers were writing in with their, pen and paper, which people still do. I still write. But then you have the typewriter and then you have now the keyboard, right? That didn't end writing, but it just changed the way that we do write. And people had to learn how to use keyboards. It just
Mhm.
technology is going to happen that way where you just have to learn. The same, so smartphone. You went from telephone to now the smartphone that does all these
Yeah.
things. You just learn the technology and just keep moving forward because in a progressive world. So the
Mhm.
technology is going to continue moving forward whether we like it or not. So and we learn until we die. So just keep learning a new skill, and you don't have to learn a deep dive. Just learn enough to
No,
function at
yeah.
least.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think I'm curious your thoughts on this, Cordell and Spencer, because I've kind of been thinking about this because I've tried to liken the advent of AI to other technology, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's like the internet in these ways, or it's like the telephone in these ways. And I've tried to figure out if it, because when I come to like the telephone, right? It's like, okay, we had the telegraph, which
Mhm.
then kind of turned into the telephone. And there's like a clear, like one kind of led to the other in this
Mhm.
mindset. Is there a similar story for AI? Like these LLMs, is there like a clear, it came from this technology that was widely used? It almost seems like an entirely new process and technology.
That's a very good question. I think it came from programming, but unfortunately, most humans have never programmed before in their life.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's a good point.
that's the problem with it
Mm-hmm.
is that if you've never programmed anything, how would you know how to do the prompts properly?
Yeah. Yeah.
But also it comes from Googling and researching as well. If you want to, bring it down a notch, Googling
Mm-hmm.
and researching, kind of similar. If you Google something very generic, you're going to get all of these things that doesn't make sense. But if you're specific in your Google, you're going to get more of what you want. So
Yeah,
kind of
that's a good
maybe
point.
tying into that. But other than that, it's so advanced in a way
Mm-hmm.
because it is so powerful, but it's not that powerful at the same time, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the one that I was going to compare it to as well is search, internet search, because it's spiritually feels like an evolved form of that to me. There's a quote from David Bowie back in the day where he's talking about the internet, and he's talking about the the interview, and I'm going to botch the quote. I don't remember the exact specifics, but basically the interviewer is like, it's like, so isn't the internet just basically a bunch of people putting newspaper online basically? And he's like, no, 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 like the internet is an animal in of itself, like you know it responds and develops itself in ways that are similar to something alive. And I think that in a lot of ways language models are kind of the
Hmm.
full realization of
Yeah.
a massive
Mhm.
corpus of human knowledge that organically, and I'm using that word very loosely here, obviously, organically organizes itself into something more.
Yeah, I
um
like that. That's
and
interesting.
Yeah.
it's it's one of those things where it's like it gets that line of the what's the word what's the phrase, it's like sufficiently advanced science is indistinguishable from magic, or right, like sometimes language models can feel that way where it's spooky how how good it can be.
How lifelike. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting
Yeah.
thought experiment. But I guess in that vein, and we've been talking so much about AI, Cordell, I got it. What are these tools that you've been developing?
Yeah.
I'm so curious.
Sure. So one, I just released on the Apple and Google App Store. It's not AI, but it helps security control assessors and information system security officers do their
Oh,
job
cool.
faster and more efficiently. Because I found that in the industry, there is an issue with a lot of people that are horrible at writing. And I'm like, how did you graduate college if you can't write? It's like very
Yeah.
interesting.
Right.
And so, because they write how they speak, and I'm like, you can't write how you speak. You have to be right how you're
Yeah.
taught, if that makes sense, right? And
Mhm.
so, I came up with this app that basically helps them do assessments with FISMA, FedRAMP, and SCADA right now, and then we're adding AI governance and CMMC in the next iteration of it. And they're able to go through
Wow.
it. It gives the questions that they would ask. It gives the implementation statements that they would write. They would have to change it a little bit, but at least gives them the baseline so they're not writing from scratch, because when you have people write from scratch, then you're having everything is like so different. So it needs to read uniform across the entire document or documents. And then it also gives suggestions so that they like plain language so that they understand it more, especially for very junior people. They can understand and they can comprehend a little bit better because the language is so complex from this. So it's going to really help them. And then the other tool I'm working on is an agentic AI tool. I got this idea from someone else that has already created it and they're selling it and all that. So I reached out to them, never heard back. So I talked to some friends and they were like, oh, we can do that. And so I was like, okay, well, let's sit down and walk through like, how will we develop it? So we began looking at agents and looking at how would we secure it. And so we're creating an agentic AI penetration tester, where basically you don't need an entire team of penetration testers. You would need, I would say, two. I'll never say one, because you don't want one single point of failure. You don't want one person having all the keys to the kingdom, but two instead of five, right? And then you go in, install it. It just runs, and not even full time. These are like part-time people. So you're spending less money, but they know how to basically fix or make changes. And it runs in your environment whenever you want. You'll be, everyone is trained that, in the company, whenever you want it, you click and you get a report on your system. So you'll know if somebody is sitting on your system at all times instead of one, because normally now it's once a year that a penetration test is done in so many environments. Well, someone could be sitting all year and you not know. So if you have this tool, at any time, randomly you can be like, oh, let me check. And then boom, it spits out a report. And so we're just working out the kinks on making sure that it doesn't break your system, because the agents are very powerful, and we're making sure that it's secure where the agents are pulling the data, and that the data is not going anywhere. It's going to be encapsulated in an enclosed system. So so those are the tools so far we're working on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Was that first tool, was that all at all inspired by legal tools like, Westgate? Is that what it's called?
Westlaw.
Westlaw, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was inspired by Westlaw because attorneys use Westlaw all the time, and it really helps them with, finding case and also writing precedents properly before they go before a judge. And so this is like the cybersecurity version so that they can use it. And they're going to be more efficient. They're going to be faster, because right now assessments take 3 to 6 months to do. This will cut that in half.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, because I'd never. My dad works at a cybersecurity company, so I have some very rough familiarity with it, and I had never thought of the need for standard language for penetration testing. It's really interesting.
I'm curious about the Agentic platform that you're building. Is it is it bespoke for each company that you would kind of help install it, apply it for that company, or is it they would buy it and they could easily implement those agents?
It's a hybrid. So they would buy it, and then according to their environment, the agents would be configured for their environment. So like the generic agents would work, but when they want to do a deep dive with the agents, then we would have to do some light configuration, not anything deep, because the agents they're good. And so they just have to tweak it a little bit for, like, for example, if it's a hospital or if it's a bank or if, so the different types of environments, what is it going to go out and look for to find the viruses or somebody sitting on your network and things like that, because everything is configured differently in different environments, but it's just small little tweaks. So it's not going to take much time. It's that same two people that are going to monitor basically part-time to make sure that nothing breaks and make sure that if there's any issues with the tool, with the agents, that they can just modify them.
Got it. Okay. Because, yeah, this is interesting because penetration testing is like you have to be very technically sound to be able to do penetration testing. But also, this is something I feel like AI is good at, right? Like,
yes,
we see it with like programming, like all these things. It's very good. So I'm curious when you were. See, this is just what's so cool is I'm sure you used AI to build an AI app. It's like this incredible cycle of AI bettering itself and building these new tools. So I'm curious, what was the process like to build these agents?
So that's the thing. So you have to build the agent. So you have to basically write the code for the agents. So you can use AI to create agents because there's AI tools that create agents, but we build the agents from scratch because if you use a tool, then that tool has data in it in those agents that are vulnerable. And so because we build our own agents from scratch, we know that they're secure and they're not vulnerable.
Yeah, because you own it. You own the whole back end.
Right. Yeah, it's our intellectual property. Yep.
Interesting. What were some of the biggest challenges in doing that, in building it yourself?
Securing it, putting the writing a secure code around it, and also writing the code to make sure that, and we're still working on it, writing the code to make sure that it doesn't infiltrate a system to shut it down, because you can make it so strong where it can just disable your network, or it can lock people out of their accounts, or it can change people's passwords, or it could, so many different things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to write it out, and then we have a closed network, and we just test it on that network constantly to work out the bugs. So it takes about a year and a half to complete, because it's hours and hours of testing and reconfiguring and rewriting the code.
Did this make you more excited about AI, more scared for the capabilities of AI? I'm curious how this altered your perspective on artificial intelligence.
It made me both more excited about it in a way that this is going to force more people to learn AI, because if you want to keep a job, you have to learn AI. But a little scary as well, because if it gets in the wrong hands, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Because people can do very dangerous things. But at the end of the day, people do very dangerous things on the internet. People do very dangerous things in real life by just trying to break in your house or rob a bank. So at the end of the day, we're going to have issues.
The ATM example from earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah. I kind of like this perspective, because it's like, people blame the tool. It's been a while since we talked about this, but I feel like we used to talk about this all the time. But it feels like sometimes you're using a hammer and you smash your finger and you're like, this hammer is so dangerous. This hammer did these things. And it's not the hammer, it's the person holding the hammer. It's
exactly
like AI still, maybe I'll have to take this back when, in 5 years, I don't know. But currently AI is still just a tool, and it's operated by individuals.
The most dangerous part of this is humans.
Yeah.
We're the most dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly.
100%.
I was going to say, you can always make valid criticisms of a tool, right? Like, oh, this hammer, its handle is way too slippery. It keeps flying out of my hand when I swing back, right? But that's not what people are doing in a lot of cases. It's not.
It's called being irresponsible.
Yeah, exactly. They want to. This relates to a broader issue I have with culture in general right now, and I won't crank on that, but just basically I just feel like people want to abdicate their responsibility to corporations almost, and blame them for everything. It's like, go ahead. I'm not gonna actively tell them to be quiet, because I don't really care about corporations. But also it's take some responsibility in your own life, and acknowledge that humans, you as a human, are capable of using a tool for good and evil, and
Right.
then go use them for good.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because people complain about corporations or about like billionaires. I'm like, you made them a billionaire. Like they complain, oh well, Amazon, they
Yeah.
make all this money. I'm like, don't you order from Amazon and get deliveries all the
No,
time?
exactly. It's like
Hello. You
I've got
just
big opinions about Amazon, but like at the end of the day, it's like my wife orders something on Amazon, it gets here later in the day. I'm like, oh, cool, right? Like,
You're like, yeah.
you got to acknowledge to some degree you're a hypocrite to live in the world today.
yeah. So it's like I always tell people, I'm like, come up with that idea, that idea
Yeah.
that person came up with that was brilliant and that they spent years in their garages and basements to create. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't always like it, but I mean, if we're going to spend our money, same thing with AI.
Yeah.
If people are going to use it, you can't complain about what it's going to do. Just
Yeah.
don't be irresponsible.
Yep. Yeah. I totally agree. I am very fascinated to see what the next year or two hold, or even the next 6
Yes.
months, because it's moving so fast. It's like
Oh,
there
yeah.
could be a huge breakthrough at any point. That's what's
Yes.
I feel
Or
like
it
we're
could
just like
stagnate,
we're
too.
all just like on edge. We don't know. Like next month, something crazy, some huge development could happen. It's just
Yeah.
this exponential change that you don't know when it's going to happen. Okay.
And the point that I like to make to people is we don't need artificial general intelligence for things to get much weirder with AI. Like everybody
it's
talks about,
already
it's like,
wild.
oh, AGI is coming and the world is going to change. It's like, well, AGI might not be coming, but the world is still going to change, guys. Like that's
Correct.
Yeah.
people have
Yeah.
this weird messiah narrative.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
for
do.
In both
AGI.
They're so
directions.
stuck on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in some
That's
ways, I
so
think
true.
they kind of miss what's here already and don't fully appreciate it because it's
Mhm.
They're just like
pretty dang
waiting.
cool.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Cordell, did you say the name of this tool? Maybe you did and I missed it.
So the app that's out is called Compliance Aid.
Compliance
Compliance.
aid. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the compliance aid tool. And then is there a name in the works for the Agentic?
Haven't thought of a name yet because I'm trying to think of something that's really cool and catchy and really like, in a way, kind of like alarming, to kind of really throw
Yeah.
people off. So I'm trying to think of
Right.
something. So it'll come across like over time. I'll run into something and be like, oh yeah,
That's
That's
pretty.
it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I'm excited
yeah,
to see what it is then. It's going to be a good one.
yeah.
Cordell, do you have any just general advice? You've given a lot of really great advice for all walks of life, but for those who are new, who are not technical, who are just seeing this rush of AI, do you have any advice for these people to adapt, to not even adapt, but like thrive? How they could thrive in this environment?
Yes, YouTube is your best friend. So I say jump on YouTube, watch some videos on it, and put it into practice. People spend lots of time, watching TV or scrolling on TikTok or scrolling on, whatever social media. Instead of doing that, take some time to watch some videos and actually like learn something. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know how to use AI, you might end up in poverty. That's just a reality.
Yeah.
And the other point that I like to make to people is like you can learn about AI and you can still not like it. I like
Yeah,
AI and I'll argue that people should use it, but it's totally valid to like a or dislike AI, but you should always learn about it so you understand what it is. And if you're arguing against it, you should understand what you are arguing against.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally agree. So, Cordell, if people want to follow you, want to follow Brownstone, these tools you're developing, what are the best channels, best platforms for them to do that?
Sure. My LinkedIn, which is Cordell Robinson, also Brownstone Consulting Firm on LinkedIn. And then Instagram is Brownstone underscore consulting underscore firm. And then I'm going to have a Facebook and a Twitter, X coming out as well
Oh,
soon.
cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah, let us
It's
know
all
when
going
that
to be
drops and
Brownstone
we'll
Consulting
include it
Firm.
all. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Love it. Okay, well, thanks, Cordell. We're excited to see. We'll have to have you on again here in a few months because it
Yeah.
sounds like
Awesome.
things are changing quick.
Yes.
One unknown agentic app.
I know.
Yes.
Can't wait for the name. Thanks,
Yes.
Cordell. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.